Mark, alcoholic.
Right.
Yeah, I got to AA when I was 23. After 8 years of daily drinking, I became a brickie so I could drink every day. My drinking was, I always knew I was an alcoholic, but I didn't know what an alcoholic was, if that makes sense to you. They barred me from going to a pub after a couple of years being an apprentice, and I'd sit on the job and drink at lunchtime, and run amok with them in the afternoon, and be passed out somewhere on a nature strip hitchhiking home, and get home, have tea, and then go and get drunk again in the pub of the night. And like I said, I'd done that for 8 years on a daily basis, and I ran a bloke over when I was 19. I was lucky I was sober this night, and we were just finishing what we were doing, and we were going to go to the pub, and all the eyes after that, he died, and everyone after that kept saying, don't get lost in the bottle, everyone was looking at my drinking, and I tried not to drink for a week or something, and it was incredible. Just I was resentful of the damage done to my car. I got paid to fix my own car, and I drank with this guy probably 2 weeks earlier in the pub, He'd been trying to neck himself, and I was the unlucky one that got him on the road this day. And why I bring that up, it was the only time that I stopped drinking and had a look, or I was forced to stop drinking, and how it affected me, Not to drink for a week was just insane for me. I got married at the age of 21, and everyone thought that'd change me, and I was in court. I was in court 3 months after getting married, same as I was every other year of my life. Probably 12 months, 18 months later, I had my second .05, and I think I'd learnt. I didn't do the same thing with the coppers twice, And now I got my second .05, and my brother, I was working with my brother, and he'd stopped drinking in his house, He was finishing things around his house. They weren't getting smashed. His kids and that were laughing. And these were things that weren't happening at my joint. And he hadn't had a drink for 6 months, and I knew he was coming here, but I hadn't asked him about it. I didn't want to know. And after I got my second .05, I rang him up when I woke up and asked him could I come to a meeting, and went to a meeting at Morty on a Sunday night. I got booked for speeding on the way there, and I thought, you should be giving me an escort, And a half hour later, sitting in that meeting, I was out of here, I'm not doing the things you talk about. I'm not going to jail. The only reason I never went to jail, my mother worked for a solicitor. And I'm not going to bash my wife and all this crap, And 3 years later, I'd done most of those things, I came here for 2 weeks, and you told me that I couldn't put anything else in me that changed me from here up. And you told me it was the first drink that got me drunk. And I thought, beauty, I'll put down the drink and I'll pick up the bong, And you told me I couldn't do that. And I spent the next 3 years being a drug addict on a daily basis, smoking dope, and a bender drinker, And try not to be the person I was. I crawled back through the doors, like I said, 3 years after that. Family gone, everything gone. I couldn't work anymore because I couldn't produce the 110% that I expected of myself, And I went to a meeting in Sydney, and I met a guy that night, and he became my sponsor, and I was hurting that much. I'd do whatever he told me, And there were no ifs or buts or anything else. I was like a little puppy dog, like feeding me smackos coming here, I was jumping for joy coming here, And I was living with an alkie in a caravan park, and in a caravan, and I'd leave to go to a meeting, and he'd be sitting there with his 6 cans and a joint, and I'd come home, and he'd still be sitting at the table, might be passed out in a puddle of piss, and I had to say to the guys that I can't cop this, And they said, well, ask him to leave. How do I do that, The fear that we have, And I asked him after a week or something, and he said, "Oh yeah, when would you like me to go? Friday? Is that okay?" You know, here I am for a week. I had this thing just churning over, eating me away. What am I going to say? We ate a chook, him and me, while we were doing our shopping one night after work, and there was nothing but bones left at the end, and we shoved it in amongst the bread and shelf. You know, you're not paying for bones. And I walked out there carrying the groceries, and I felt like a little kid that had just jumped the station, you know, waiting for the station master chasing you, you know. I felt the guilt and that I felt for a lousy $2 chook, you know. So I learned I couldn't thieve. You were telling me in meetings, I cleaned my life up with a Just for Today card. I'd cleaned up, it worked quite well. But after 5 months, I came running back to Melbourne to get me hostages back, my wife and kids. I didn't get a home group, I didn't get a sponsor. You don't read how it works. Every difference I could pick, you know. And after about 2 years, I stopped coming to meetings. After about 2.5 years, I was that restless, irritable, discontent, I picked up again, you know. I've learnt from if you read how it works, I've learnt that, you know, if I do what I'm asked to do by the steps now, I survive quite well. If I don't, which I didn't in those days, I just go and pick up again. Doesn't matter what it is, I'll find some escape. I came back in 1980 and proceeded to get into it again. And since then I've had 2 drinks, and they nearly killed me, both of them, you know. I chased all the material crap when I got back with the kids and the wife and that, and I got the new house, I got the new cars, and like I said, I got stoned. Well, I burnt that house to the ground in a blackout and woke up in Kentridge Hospital a couple of days later. And I tried to chop my hand off with a machete, and woke up to what I thought was a pretty bad dream, you know. So I looked at my arm and thought, fuck, yeah, I got an arm in plaster, and I thought, you know, it's reality, welcome. And I lived in self-pity, you know, I was drowning in it, you know. And I came to meetings, and they used to get me after a meeting and just tell me what I'm going to do. Tomorrow you will go and do this, you know. And I had to be told, you know. I had to be told because I didn't know, you know. They told me to go to work, so I went to work. I worked the same way I always used to work, you know. Cash and all the rest of it, stuff the taxman and all that. And 2 years down the track, here I was at this point in AA, I had nothing. When I woke up after burning the house down, I had a little pair of Indian jocks tied on me in the hospital, you know. 2 years later, I had a trial going on. They were trying to lock me up for burning my house down. And legal aid wouldn't give me any money because I owned half a car which had a blown engine. The tax man wanted me because I hadn't done nothing about my tax. And my life was in such a mess. And someone in here said to me, "You'll use the time inside well to get some education and that." Oh shit, going to jail. Oh, bad become an animal. So I grew a beard and I became an animal, you know. I started laying the bricks around me to get you all away again, push everyone that was close away. And I became an animal, you know. And all my problems that I had going on doesn't matter, I'm going to jail, you know. Well, I didn't get a holiday, and I was left with all this shit to clean up, you know. And I had to sit and do an inventory on it and find out that I created it all, you know. God didn't say, "There's Mark, let's tip it on him," you know. I had to learn to change, you know. And the only way I'd done that was by doing the steps and having a look at my defects, you know. I was driving here tonight, and I was thinking about someone just lately. I heard about someone getting 21 points in a week. You know, I got 19 in a 3-month trip around it. I got 19 points, you know. And I was just thinking about that, you know. I had to learn to stop doing the things that hurt me, you know. You might be trying to lay bricks and catching a train with a dog and a trowel and a level. And it's not much fun. The things I had to learn, I'm responsible for me, you know. And if I'm barking at the world's going to bark back at me, you know. And I had to change that, you know. I drank again after 8 years because I just got the fuck it. You can all go and get fucked, you know. Someone gave us a bowl of port and I couldn't give it away, you know, because it was a gift. And I found out why I couldn't give it away, because I was keeping it for me, you know. And me and the wife arguing at midnight on a Sunday night, and you can get stuff too, and upended the bowl of port, you know. And I learned something that from that, and that was that I never valued the freedom that I had when the compulsion left, you know, because now it was back. I never valued that I could walk straight, you know, because this night I couldn't walk without hitting the walls, you know. And I couldn't drive a car, lucky. And I came back to meetings and I got back into the steps again, you know, because I had to learn that the steps are something that I'd done them, and I'd done them, you know, like I'd done them, put them away, I'd done them. And I had to learn that I had to bring them in my life on a daily basis, not just do them once and think I've done it and I've arrived, and why isn't the world dancing to my tune, you know? And that's why I picked up again, you know? Since then I've got myself in a regular meetings, and it's coming on 18 years since I had that drink, you know? And I don't never drink again if I so desire. I live with the fear for a long time, maybe 10 years, of the fear, when is my head going to tell me that this is, you can stick it up your jumper again, you know? I thought my head would tell me that again. And I've since learnt that that never has to happen, you know? That's up to me on whether I'm doing meetings and whether I'm living my life the way I should. If I'm living it the way I should, well, there's no need to drink, you know? I don't have that desire. Today I've been married to the same lady for 26 years or something, you know. I've seen her drink, she's a member, and she's seen me drink, you know. And she's 26 years sober now. It's not something I'd recommend, but if you work at it, it works. But AA's given me a life that, like I said, when I drank again after 8 years, I knew the only place I'd ever been happy in my whole life was in these rooms, you know, and what you'd given me, you people. And here I was, my head was telling me to stick it. So I had to ignore my head. And it took 6 months for me sitting in meetings for my head just to stop one night, you know. And it's a pretty scary thought when you're sitting in a meeting and all your head's saying, oh, just stick it up your jumper, you know. Just go. That's all it kept saying, just go. And I had to just sit and wait. And because I got another whack at it, I don't want to ever get back in that position again, you know. I don't want to ever turn me back on this show, you know. Because it's the best thing in my life that's ever happened, and my family. There's 8 members of our family at Christmas time that are associated with this fellowship, either NA or AA, you know. So it's a family disease. We've got room for a few more still to come in, you know. They don't seem to think so, but that's okay. We can laugh about that. Some days they laugh, some days they don't, you know. But that's all right. And we've got grandkids on the way that are walking the same walk, I reckon. Oh, that's scary watching that. But anyway, that's what it'll be. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.